Measure Z yes votes far outnumbered the no votes during the special ballot election Tuesday in Mammoth Lakes. Now, the semi-official results from the Mono County Elections Department showed 858 yes votes for a 69.87% total and 370 no votes equaling 30.13%. Now, votes were received from 1,228 of 2,900 registered voters. This according to the Mono County Elections Department, which noted it will have official numbers by Friday afternoon. Now, the yes vote on Measure Z means that if the Mammoth Lakes Town Council wishes to expand nightly rentals into residential zones, that the people will have the right to vote on it first. Now, supporters of yes on Measure Z stress that, quote, Measure Z does not deal with any properties outside of the residential zones. It does not lock anything in forever. It does not touch the commercial or resort zones, and it does not restrict the town council from doing a single thing other than requiring them to ask the voters' permission before expanding nightly rentals into residential zones, end quote. Now, yes, supporters also quoted Mammoth Lakes Town Attorney Andy Morris from a July 1st Town Council meeting, quote, a yes on Measure Z does not change the zoning code. It doesn't ask people to vote yes or no on single-family rentals. All it does is say that the voters will have to weigh in before any changes can be made in the residential zones, end quote. Now, again, the semi-official results for Measure Z from the Mono County Elections Department showed 858 yes votes and 370 no votes. Well, the Mammoth Lakes man has pleaded not guilty to charges of violations of archaeological resources. A press release from the Department of Justice states that Jonathan Cornelius Bourne, age 59, of Mammoth Lakes, was arraigned Monday before United States Magistrate Judge Barbara A. McAuliffe. This after a federal grand jury returned a 21-count indictment against Bourne, charging him with violations of the Archaeological Resources Protection Act. This according to United States Attorney Benjamin B. Wagner. Now, according to counts 1 through 8 of the indictment, in 2010 and 2011, Bourne, who was an anesthesiologist in Mammoth, transported archaeological resources from Nevada into California that were found on public lands and were over 100 years old. Among the items removed were obsidian biface tools, steatite pendants, glass beads allegedly removed from a tribal cremation and burial site. Now, counts 9 through 14 charge Bourne with unauthorized excavation and removal, damage, or defacement of archaeological resources in Death Valley National Park, Inyo National Forest, and Sierra National Forest. Press release states that the Native American cultural artifacts taken in 2010, 2011, and 2014, such as dart points, stone tablets, and a juniper bow stave, were over 100 years old. Now, according to counts 15 through 20 in the indictment, Bourne willfully injured property of the United States by excavating, removing, damaging, and defacing cultural artifacts on land administered by the United States Forest Service and the National Park Service, counties of Mono, Inyo, and Fresno. Now, at the arraignment, the press release notes that Bourne pleaded not guilty to the charges and was released on his own recognizance. The next court hearing is a status conference before United States Magistrate Judge Sheila K. Oberto, and that is set for December 7th of this year. Now, the press release states that if convicted, Bourne faces a maximum statutory penalty of 98 years in prison, as well as a fine of over $2 million. Any sentence, however, would be determined at the discretion of the court after consideration of any applicable statutory factors and the federal sentencing guidelines, which take into account a number of variables. Now, the charges are only allegations. The defendant is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, that press release notes. Well, people on the east side of the Sierra endured heavy, smoky conditions for about 7 weeks after the rough fire started on July 31st. Now, a letter to Eastern Sierra residents was issued by 3 officials from Sierra National Forest, Giant Sequoia National Monument, Sequoia National Forest, and Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. Now, that letter states We want to recognize the residents of Eastside communities who lived with the smoke from the rough fire for many weeks, and we thank you for your patience while numerous valiant efforts to contain the fire were made. We also understand the smoke affects one of the primary attractions of the East Side, which is the broad spectrum of recreational opportunities that people from throughout the world come to experience. Now that letter continues, however, we must dispute several sentiments shared with various East Side media outlets that suggest that this fire was a managed lightning fire for resource benefit. Letter continues, in particular, we must refute the idea that our firefighters did not do enough or that we, as land managers, underestimated this fire in initial attack and over the following weeks. Now, later, the lengthy missive states numerous crews, including those on initial attack, made every effort they could to contain this fire. Many crews have been away from loved ones for most of the summer responding to fires throughout the West, many of which have also grown larger than historically seen and displaying unprecedented fire behavior. The letter states, we are particularly grateful that to date our firefighters will make it home to their families and loved ones. One injury in particular reminded us how complex this terrain is, with the rescue being conducted by a roped-in technical rescue team. That letter concludes, so we thank you for your patience and we recognize that you too have been affected by this fire. We also hope that you will take a moment to be grateful to all the dedicated men and women who worked tirelessly this summer to protect our communities and our infrastructure, end quote. Now that entire letter is posted on our website, sierrawave.net. We'll be back with more news.